the Labour Party. They are saying the Labour activists paid for a smear campaign against journalists. This story is horrendous for the Labour Party. The Mail is saying there's going to be a probe into Andrew. The Express think the pension and the increase in the pension will, of course, put more people into poverty. That's coming up next.
Make sure you don't miss the chance to grab an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won. Choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa, or even Sri Lanka. There's just 2 weeks left to enter. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens. Opinion and debate. And of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight's Late Edition. Breaking now on the front page of the Sunday Times, Labour activists paid for a smear campaign against journalists. This is absolutely damning, considering the government is already embroiled in multiple other scandals. We're going to dig into this story on the show tonight. Plus,
now it's not just words, it's scientific proof that my husband, Alexei Navalny, was poisoned and killed by Russian government and by Vladimir Putin in Russian prison.
Alexei Navalny's wife says this is proof her husband was killed by the Russian government, with the story splashing on lots of tomorrow's front pages. And
particularly to those who knew the least about the increase in their state pension age, taking all the survey evidence in the round, it suggests that a majority of women knew the state pension age was increasing.
Well, it's not just the WASPy women impacted, is it? As a rise in the state pension, the pension age, of course, will send 115,000 elderly into poverty, as seen on the Sunday Express. Plus,
proud we raised the national minimum wage again. That is what a Labour government is for, making life better for working families.
The Prime Minister says he's proud to raise the national minimum wage, but as seen in the Telegraph, it's pricing people out of their job. Well, that's claims by the Bank of England. And a new tell-all royal biography reveals Prince William was in total agony over the Princess of Wales's cancer diagnosis in 2024. Loads to dig into tonight. I cannot wait to talk to you about this Sunday Times article. It is absolutely damning. But first, we're going to get your news with Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you and good evening. Your top stories this hour. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny died in prison after being poisoned with a deadly toxin found in Ecuadorian dart frogs. The UK and other allies have described the poisoning, which they claim could only have been carried out by Vladimir Putin's government, as a barbaric act. The neurotoxin, that is classified as a chemical weapon, is 200 times stronger than morphine. It's not clear how it was administered to Navalny, who was incarcerated in Siberia when he died almost 2 years ago. According to TASS news agency, Moscow has dismissed the finding as a disinformation campaign. Now, the Sunday Times is reporting that Labour activists were paid for a smear campaign against journalists. Labour Together, which is the group that helped make Sir Keir Starmer leader, allegedly hired lobbyists who falsely suggested reporters were linked to Russia. It's reported they paid £36,000 to APCO, a US public affairs firm, to examine the backgrounds and motivations of reporters behind a story before the general election. Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer has insisted he will lead Labour into the next general election, but admitted that appointing Lord Peter Mandelson as ambassador to Washington, D.C. was a mistake. Speaking to The Sun on Sunday at the Munich Security Conference, Sir Keir Starmer rejected suggestions he should resign and reports of plots within Labour to oust him. And back in the UK, Lord Mandelson has been seen publicly for the first time since being summoned to testify before US Congress. Peter Mandelson was pictured with his dog leaving his home in northwest London. He is currently under police investigation for misconduct in public office after allegedly leaking market-sensitive information to Jeffrey Epstein. Lord Mandelson has repeatedly denied all wrongdoing. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the Munich Security Conference today. The Ukrainian president voiced hope for the US-brokered peace talks in Geneva next week.
The Americans often return to the topic of concessions, and too often those concessions are discussed in the context only of Ukraine, not Russia. Europe is practically not present at the table. It's a big mistake to my mind.
In other news, a former imam has been found guilty of 21 sexual offences, including 9 counts of rape, after coercing his victims, some as young as 12, into believing he had supernatural powers. The Met Police said 54-year-old Abdul Halim Khan from East London used his position as a respected faith leader to abuse multiple women and girls between 2004 and 2015. Khan will be sentenced next month. Matt Weston has made history, becoming the first British man to win gold in the skeleton at the Winter Olympics in Italy. It's also Team GB's first medal of this Games. The 28-year-old has already secured the world and European titles and says being Olympic champion means everything.
To put my name among some of the great British sliders that we've had before that have managed to become Olympic champion as well is insane. The fact that I'm up there with them, but also to be the first man to do it feels extra special, and kind of it definitely means something. And hopefully, I've set a trend for British skeleton in the future.
And the Prince and Princess of Wales have celebrated Valentine's Day by releasing a previously unseen photo. The black and white snap of Prince William and Princess Catherine was taken in Norfolk in April last year by photographer Josh Shinner. Meanwhile, across the pond, the Duchess of Sussex shared an image of the Duke of Sussex and their daughter to mark the occasion, captioning it, "These two plus Archie equal my forever Valentines." Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Alex.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Right, well, welcome back. Here are your Sunday front pages. One of them is pretty damning. The Sunday Times. Labour activists paid for smear campaign against journalists. This was during, allegedly, November 2023, of course, the height of the time when Keir Starmer was telling us all he was the bastion of morality and a Puritan. We'll be digging into this. This is quite a damning story. The Sunday Express. Rise in pension age will send 115,000 elderly into poverty. The Mail on Sunday. Now there must be a probe into envoy Andrew. The Sunday Mirror. Will's agony. The Independent. Putin arch-rival Navalny poisoned by the Kremlin. The Telegraph. Russia murdered Navalny with frog poison. The Sun. Epstein lured Telly Donna. The Observer. Dr. Ice and the Skeleton Crew. And leading the GBnews.com website tonight, an exclusive. Wes Streeting plots to beat Angela Rayner in race to topple Keir Starmer as date is set to oust the Prime Minister. All right, I'm currently missing a panellist. But hopefully Steve will be here shortly. He's been stuck in a little bit of traffic, bless him. Obviously, lots of people coming back from Valentine's Day celebrations. But listen, we've got the people here we need to ask about this stuff. Particularly, I've got here Jane Stevenson, former Tory MP, and of course Paul Richards here, former Labour Party advisor. We have to start on this damning story. And Paul, I'm sorry to put this onto you. I'm sure, I know it's not your fault, but how many more weeks are you going to have to sit here and defend this government? And I know it's not the Labour Party, it's the Labour Together group. There's an activist group, but they have, of course, very close links to the top of government here. Morgan McSweeney being a previous director of this company. And now the Times are alleging tonight that this Labour Together group, after the Sunday Times exposed £730,000 worth or there also of donation, what they would say electoral fraud around that area, but that was, of course, reported by the Sunday Times, that the Labour Together group then went and paid a PR firm, essentially, APCO, to find out the information about the journalist who broke the scandal of Labour Together and their donation scandal. And they wanted to smear this journalist. This is the dirtiest, lowest of low gutter politics.
No, it isn't. No,
you don't think this is that bad? You don't think this is that bad?
They're doing worse things in number 10
in politics. I mean,
but it's gutter politics to smear people that have exposed your organisation, not you. I mean, no. That's what I'm saying. And when I say I'm talking about them, I'm saying for them to then go, oh, well, we got exposed. Let's go and make this person's life a misery. Let's go smear. This is gutter politics.
Unpick it. First of all, this is a non-affiliated ginger group called Labour Together. It's not the Labour Party, not the Labour government. You've said Starmer a couple of times. There's nothing to do with Keir Starmer.
Well, it's damning for him because he's the Prime Minister and it's a group affiliated that have the Chief of Staff. He just had to basically effectively sack.
It's not an official group. Now, my understanding is it's now being investigated by the Public Relations Consultants Association to see if this company that was paid has transgressed their rules. APCO, I understand, gave information back to Labour Together that they hadn't asked for, so they exceeded their brief in these lies about journalists that we're reading about for the first time here in the papers. And if that's true, then that's entirely egregious and shouldn't have happened. But you can't smear the government with all of that.
When it goes to the heart of Downing Street, Morgan McSweeney and Keir Starmer are linked at the hip.
No, not at all. And the irony, actually, is that Gabriel Pogrund, who is the journalist's name, has got incredibly good insight.
I'm going to stop you for a second, Paul. Josh Simons, and again, this is all alleged. I don't want to get into any legal trouble, but alleged by the Times here. Josh Simons, by the way, who had succeeded Morgan McSweeney as the head of Labour Together, is now a Cabinet Office Minister. He commissioned APCO to look into it, right? So don't tell me, sit there and say to me, this is not anything to do with your party and your government, because this bloke is now inside the Cabinet Office.
Josh Simons is making absolutely clear that APCO gave him information that he did not want, nor commission, or ask for, which is now its subject subject to
What was the point of the commission then in the first place? It seems exceptionally unclear to me.
My understanding is that it's because they were trying to find out who was leaking information from inside Labour Together to the Sunday Times.
The Sunday Times has a copy of the full report, right? Dated January 2024, codenamed...
By ABCO.
Yes.
The report from ABCO,
yes.
the company, yep.
Codenamed Operation Cannon and marked private and confidential. It was prepared by Tom Harper, APCO's senior director and a former Sunday Times employee. Labour Together has admitted hiring the firm, but the details of its report and the scale of APCO's efforts to discredit the story have never been told. I'm sorry.
That's ABCO's fault then. ABCO is the company.
Why did they ask for a report?
Labour Together did not need to hire this company.
They didn't ask for this report.
What, they didn't employ ABCO at all?
Well, it would seem that they did, but the ABCO would seem to have exceeded their brief and supplied information that was not requested or asked for.
I don't think they go around digging up
and that's what the PRCA...
Oh, I've heard it all before,
well,
Paul.
That's what
I've heard it all before.
That's what the inquiry will bottom out,
Yeah, I hope they do, because I'm sick of actually hearing about this Labour Together group. They seem to me to be the main cause of problems.
I thought it was the Fabian Society was the main cause of problems. I mean, you know,
we can talk about those again another night if you fancy, Paul. You managed to get off there last time because we had breaking news, but we'll come back to the Fabians. However, Labour Together is producing quite a lot of trouble. The people that have come out of it have caused a lot of trouble for this government, and I think, again, calls into question Keir Starmer's judgment as Prime Minister.
And they also...
Go on, Jamie. I want to bring Steve in.
They also gave massive donations to the last general election candidates.
Quite right.
So their influence over the current parliamentary Labour Party is significant.
Stephen Allen has arrived.
Hello.
Good evening.
Sorry about the traffic.
Don't worry, mate. It
happens.
It happens. We're just getting started on this story. I don't know if you've had a time to consider it too much yet, Steve, but it is really an attack on the free press. This is what this is. People listen, you know, all of us here, particularly a media outlet, we talk about stories that the government, I can guarantee you, really do not like us talking about it. All right, stuff that we do here. We are just trying to report the news, right? To know that there might be these horrible actors in some form connected to anything that's to do with our government makes me feel a little bit sick. It's an attack on our free press.
Yeah, it's not just about journalists reporting the news, is it? It's about holding the government to account, because if you end up in a situation where the governments can't, or are in some way prevented from doing that, the journalists rather, are prevented from doing that, then, you just sit back and trust politicians? I'm not incredibly sure, no offence, at the end of the table, but...
He's not an elected one, don't worry.
Without having...
He's calling me a politician.
But it's one of the checks and balances that makes this system, in theory, work, isn't it? Having good journalists doing the work. And normally the crisis in journalism is, where does the money come from actually to fund this? Then you find out there are these snide actors trying to take people off the board. I think the context, the reason why this bothers us, people, is because we remember what we were promised on the way into the election.
Yep.
Keir Starmer was going to be so good at it. He was boring. That was his selling point, his USP. There wasn't going to be any kind of dirt going forwards. We were sick of all of the dirt from before. We wanted this new dawn. So to find out that this is involved means that it's not quite as fresh.
I'll just read some more, because I promised you all I would read more of this story out to you throughout the show, and I'm going to read some more. Documents seen by the Sunday Times show one of the Prime Minister's closest aides and another government special advisor were among those who repeated and appeared to believe the report's contents. All right? Again, Paul, it all goes back to the top of our government, and British people need a free press. Journalists need to know that when they're going to report difficult stories, perhaps even about the Prime Minister, the most important authority in the country when it comes to the law, that they can do so without repercussion.
Well, I'm the only person on this panel who's a member of the National Union of Journalists, I believe, unless you are, Alex.
I might be. I don't know, actually.
And I will defend the free press to my dying breath. I think absolutely we need a independent media scrutinising and holding to account the powerful and important people in this country. So, of course, that's important. Gabriel Progan, by the way, has got incredible insights and links into the Labour Party and has written some really good books about the background of Labour history. So he's not, some enemy that should be brought down, which is why I return to my theme. ABCO need to be properly investigated. I don't believe that this report, full of these smears, was sought or commissioned by the people within Labour together, and they are denying it this evening, don't forget. Josh Simons, who is now a Cabinet Office Minister, has said that he didn't ask for this report. Now, if people, used it in that way, then they shouldn't have. But the fault for this lies with ABCO, not with Labour together.
But Alex just said there were Labour politicians starting to start the rumours. They were using the report, spreading these insinuations about journalists that turned out not to be true. But if they hadn't invited that detail in the report, they hadn't commissioned it, tried to distance, then surely you don't go out and start spreading the rumours.
The rumours, just so people understand what kind of rumours there were. And we saw this all the way leading up to the election, isn't it? This Russia. Do you know what? This is where politicians really, words I'm not going to say on air, hold myself there, wind up the British public, is this Russia hoax, Russia this, Russia that, you're paid off Russian, you're paid off Russian, you're part of the KGB. This sort of stuff, right, with no grounding whatsoever. We saw it happen in America, and we see stuff like this happen here. What it does is actually undermine our war effort against Russia. Hang on, Paul, I'm not finished.
The Russians are bribing people in the British system. One of them has just gone to jail for 10 years.
I appreciate that. You're missing the point. The point is, these sorts of reports, this fake news, which is what this is, undermines our war efforts. It undermines true Russian stories where we do need to expose this stuff, right? This here, this journalist was then portrayed as a Russian sort of Kremlin hack. He alleged without evidence that emails which underpinned the published story were likely to have emerged from a suspected Kremlin hack of the Electoral Commission. The likeliest culprit is the Russian state or proxies of the Russian state, he wrote. This is mental stuff that really undermines our national security.
Except the Russians are hacking into our computers.
But this is the point, Paul.
They are bribing British politicians, and they are trying to
missing my point by nefarious people trying to get one-upmanship because they don't like that they've been called out for being caught in a disgusting donation scandal, undermine our country, and they undermine real stories, because who's going to believe people when they start hearing this stuff, Paul? That's the problem here. It's undermining the free press.
We'd like to see what the instruction was when it was commissioned, and I think Labour together should release emails to say this is what we asked for, and they did something
and I feel like I'm
above and
ganging
beyond.
up on you now because with the numbers are here, but imagine how much you would hate this if the political polls were reversed on this. Just feeling your gut, how much, if we were sat here going, there's a story that Boris Johnson, Theresa May, there's no way you could have commissioned a report within the Liz Truss time frame, but if there was anything like that, you would absolutely hate. You'd smell a rat with this. You know deep down in your soul that actually this is the kind of stuff that makes politics dodgy, not the left or the right dodgy, politics.
Funnily enough, this poor journalist was actually sanctioned and remains sanctioned to this day by Russia, which included him on a no-travel list as tensions grew. I mean, this is the thing. This poor bloke who's actually doing good work to expose what's going on in Russia was smeared as a Russian hack and was sanctioned by them at the time. I can't imagine how this bloke must have felt absolutely disgusted. There's more claims here, by the way, and I will read them out to you throughout this show this evening. OK, here's a response here. Alison Phillips, now head of Labour Together, said the group was ready to support the PRCA and other relevant governance bodies with its review of this issue. APCO did not respond to requests for comment. All right, listen, we've got a Great British giveaway for you here. 10 grand for your summer holiday for two, 30 grand in tax-free cash on anything you like. Here's all the details.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, get this. Prime Minister today's admitted he made mistakes. That's what he said to The Sun. I made mistakes, but I'm coming out fighting. And Valentine will lead Labour into the next election. Goodness gracious me. I don't think there's going to be a country left anyway. That's all coming up after the break.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Called the Football Safety app is obviously does exactly what it says on the tin. You're going to a football match, and you got to remember football doesn't start when you're actually in the stadium. It starts when you leave your house and you're going to a game. So you can report in stuff whether you're on a train, whether you're travelling, whether you're walking to a stadium, anything that's happening and around you. We all know that sometimes it can get a bit rowdy on the trains. I've been there before, stuck on the train before, and sometimes you struggle to report it. And this is a way of reporting what's going on and reporting it to police.
And Emile, have you ever been a victim of all of this?
Well, I've obviously had racial abuse at stadiums while playing, etc.
Yeah. You know what's sad? The fact that you said obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just awful that it's obviously.
The interesting thing with that is I made my debut at 17. And we know what's going on, we see it, I've had it, and by the time I was finished, when I was playing, I was thinking, by the time I finish playing, it will change. It probably hasn't, it's probably just morphed into something else. We have the ability to get a hold of anyone, any time in our hands, with our mobile phones, with social media, with the social media companies. So it's just morphed into something else where we get a lot of abuse. We see it with the lads playing in the missing penalties, and then suddenly they're getting abused, etc. But that's still happening in the stadium, and it's not just racial abuse. It's bullying, it's sexual harassment, it's all sorts of harassment.
And all these things would qualify to be reported.
In the app. You basically just report. You can just click a button, and it's instant.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Well, what's left of it? I've got some sweeties here, those little love hearts. They're awesome, aren't they? Steve, there's one for you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. I don't know whose these are. I just found them here in the studio, so I can't say. Didn't buy them. Paul, even you get one.
Much.
Go on.
Very
and
good.
there you go, Jane.
Thank you.
What does your first one say? Just out of interest. So my first one here says, "I want you."
Oh, this one says, "It's not you, it's me."
Mine's beautiful. It's a bit left-wing. Share love.
Well, my next one here says, "I'm really sorry for all the mistakes I made." That must be a Keir Starmer special, that one. Paul, what's yours say?
Mine is my message to my lovely wife, Sarah, with whom I'm not spending Valentine's Day.
Thanks, Paul.
Meant to be.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you to your wife for letting us have you here on Valentine's Day, indeed. Well, while we're talking about the Prime Minister just a second ago, the Sun reports this evening, an exclusive. Oh, get this. Prime Minister admits he made mistakes, but said he's coming out fighting and vowed he will lead Labour into the next election. In an exclusive interview with The Sun on Sunday, just days after, of course, his premiership teetered on the brink, Sir Keir Starmer conceded that it had been a tough week, adding, "When you do my job, you have tough weeks." I think that's a bit of the understatement of the century, really, there. Tough weeks. I mean, you practically almost lost your job, mate, and you've got to be clicking your heels together. You're still here somehow. The PM has endured the worst fortnight of his reign after being rocked by the Peter Mandelson scandal and an attempt by Labour's Scottish leader to topple him from number 10. Of course, as we are told, was all instigated by the Health Secretary, allegedly, at least anyway. Senior Labour women have accused his regime of being a boys' club and that it peddled toxic sexist briefings. Awesome. Let's get thoughts of my panel. I can't wait to hear what they think about this one. Steve, Prime Minister.
Yeah,
he's coming out biting, he says.
No mistakes, which I didn't notice.
No one's seen it.
You don't need to say out loud, unbelievable. Yeah, coming out fighting. It was a few days ago he said that he'd won every fight he'd ever been in, which is just not true, is it? Why? Don't try and gaslight us, because Brexit, lost that one. Trying to get a second referendum on Brexit. Trying to get welfare reform. Even just like the week before, trying to get the details about the Mandelson files checked by someone he had a bit of control over. So we can list many fights that he lost. So the idea of spinning it this way is ridiculous. Yeah, it's been a tough week, nearly career-ending. I'm not sure it's over and done with, though. I think we might get more information, and it's just going to raise more questions that Keir Starmer has to deal with.
Yeah, there's another headline we'll talk about in a bit, which kind of reinforces that point, actually, Steve. Jane, a week is a long time in politics. At this point, it feels like that saying should be 5 minutes. Is the long time in politics, because, you know, the Prime Minister, 1 minute he's here, the next minute he's possibly going, then his health secretary's plotting to oust him by convincing the Scottish Labour leader to fall under the sword.
This is what everyone is imagining, everyone egging Anna Sarwar on, going, no, we're all behind you, we're going to come out after you do it just takes you to stand up. And then they all ran away and hid for a bit, laughing. But I just think it looks like chaos. I think Keir Starmer... You know, we all saw him with the punch bag. We've seen Starmer trying to fight. It wasn't good. He's toast. It just depends how much longer they give him. And I think it will be after the local elections. They will give him the boot, and there will be, you know, a war between Rayner and Streeting, and maybe a couple of other dark horse contenders to see who takes over. But I think
is the answer blowing in the wind?
He's the most popular among Labour members.
Is that who we're going to really? I think if I was a betting man, which I do often do have a pun on politics, I think he's going to be your party leader and future Prime Minister. What do you think? Old Miliband, blowing in the wind.
Is that what that was?
No, that little ukulele. Have you not seen the clip of it? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
That's brilliant.
That's as good as my Miliband one gets.
Miliband doing Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think my Ed Miliband is better than his Bob Dylan, but yes, go on.
I mean, it's very easy. First of all, you've sabotaged me by making me eat sweets while trying to do my top-level analysis of what's going on. But I know what you're up to. I think it is easy to be cynical, but I think actually Starmer was just showing his human side, and I think we quite like that in our politicians.
Side?
If you just come in and said, yes, everything's fine, it's all going terribly well, I'm brilliant.
Well, it's a bit of an understatement.
Polling the most unpopular Prime Minister ever since polls began.
And so I think his human side is quite appealing. And I would just say, you know, for all his faults, he is the Prime Minister and you lost your seat.
I did.
You know, I mean, he's doing something right.
Janie's going on fighting. Go on, slap him back.
I was trying to get a love heart there. He also got fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn in 2019. And unfortunately, the vote on the right split down the middle.
But we don't measure how many votes you get. We measure how many seats you get.
But more people,
and he beat
I absolutely
But it was loveless, though, wasn't it?
And he's still there.
It was loveless, though.
But more people wanted Jeremy Corbyn than Keir Starmer.
Let me bring this over to you, because the thing is, it was a loveless victory. We all know that. I mean, nobody really wanted Keir Starmer to be Prime Minister. But, you know, you're saying, Paul's saying, you know, he's got a human side, it's a tough week. That's an understatement of the century. It's been, if he was a human who'd go, that was brutal. I can't believe I'm still Prime Minister. Tough week is the biggest understatement of the century. And I'm grateful to still be leading this country. And I'm sorry, I've been making so many mistakes. Not just I made a mistake. It's a multitude of them, Prime Minister.
Yeah, but earlier on in this narrative saying, oh, I made a couple of mistakes, would have been human. Now it still looks like lying by degree, doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
Sort of just covering up his, well, yeah, some mistakes, but let's not look, hey, it's true to say he's still here, but it's at a time when people are asking the question, how long? Even raising the issue that he's still here, if anything, just points at how dodgy this looks. Most of the coverage is going to be, well, we've been doing this for weeks, asking who's next. That's not a good
Right, well,
Minister, is it?
that's
the point.
Hang on, because
we've been predicting his demise now.
It's got worse for him, not better.
But he's still
But they're choosing to leave him because he's so weak.
Let's pivot on that, because this is a really nice sort of line into this. If we go to the Sunday Telegraph here, Labour rebels line up John Healey, as potential leadership challenger. It's interesting because we're seeing some names we haven't heard of before, which usually means that they're true. Labour rebels are lining up John Healey, the Defence Secretary, as a unity candidate to challenge Sir Keir Starmer, the Telegraph understands. A rising number of backbenchers believe Mr Healey would draw support from the right and the left of the parliamentary party alike. What do you think of that, Steve?
I'd be amazed if anyone can manage to bring together the two sides of any party these days. It's such a divided time politically, and this purity politics of the left part of the left thinks if you're anywhere near the centre, you're effectively a Tory and just as bad. Be off with you. And so you've whittled it down to just this thin slice of people they actually think have good enough values, which is no way to win an election. So, yeah, I do think you do need a unity candidate, but I'm not sure how you straddle that broad church.
Oh, yeah, this is the thing. I mean, John Healey, Jane, what do you make of him? Do you think he'd be a dark horse in the competition here that might unify the party?
I think we're going to see little cliques in... I've been through a couple of leadership contests in Parliament, and you get... talks in the tea room, you will have little meetings going on in offices around Parliament. Do you remember things like the pork pie plotters?
Yeah, I remember
and
the
all
pork
of
pie
that
plot.
stuff. I mean, people, if Healey has a little caucus behind him, I'm sure there are several other people. Pat McFadden might be a safe pair of hands. Yvette Cooper, but, she's obviously female, so Labour would never actually elect her as their leader. But... who knows? I think we will see a number of people emerging as what if, because Angela Rayner has still got her tax affairs under the spotlight. Wes Streeting, I think the Telegraph says, people are thinking he's a bit toxic.
Yeah.
So
he's got the Mandelson thing hanging over him, hasn't he?
I think this is in terminal decline now. I don't know who could take over Labour, and actually... they will always face the criticism you don't have a mandate. They won't be able to get away with that because, of course, that was the charge put to the Tories when they put Liz and Rishi in. We're talking about John Healey here. He kind of would be like a bit of a John Swinney candidate for the SNP, in the similar sense that John Swinney was not seen as anything. Yeah, well, he was just kind of the last bloke there, but not offensive, as where the previous two First Ministers had been booted out, one of them in record time, because they were being so offensive. And John Swinney is might look like he'll stay in office.
I mean, I don't buy that analogy at all, as you might imagine. And I would also say, can I just do my customary, there is no vacancy, Starmer is still Prime Minister?
I thought it was just a given.
If we get past that and into the debate, I mean, actually, John Healey is a brilliant minister. As Defence Secretary, he has done a great deal to boost defence expenditure. So he's won money for his department.
But a lot of that money is going to the Chagos deal, so it's not increasing.
We're talking about John Healey, aren't we? And he's well liked by both his officials and the armed services and his parliamentary colleagues. I've known him for 40 years. He's a good thing and he's doing a great job. Now, there is no vacancy, but it's just another sign there are people in the wings who could take over at some point in the future.
Well, it's interesting because when we look at the gbnews.com website and we look at this story here, the Telegraph is saying this, and I'll have to, restrain some of the language they're using here. Let's just put it that way. Traditionally, this is a quote from a Labour MP, is talking about Mr Streeting, the Health Secretary. Traditionally, you would have thought he was the champion of the hardline moderate, but he has off the Keir Starmer loyalists by allegedly plotting all the time. He is off everyone who is pro-Israel and off everyone who is around Rachel Reeves. So it's not really ideal. yeah, not really ideal. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, peed off the people who are pro-Israel. It's the Labour Party we're talking about. So
yeah.
Big slice, I guess. One way of looking at it. I don't know. I think that's maybe true now, but if there's no vacancy right now, but if there becomes a vacancy and the urgency kicks in, I think Wes Street and stock could rise a little. All of these small annoyances now, then you start asking yourself the question, who will be a good leader for us? They suddenly might start not minding some of the ways that these people are.
But there are two tests, aren't there? One is, can you deliver the country, and can you get the support of the Labour Party? And at the moment, there are no candidates that can do both.
That's true. No. That's true. All right, well, look, coming up, teachers with mental health issues are taking equivalent of 1 day off every week. Plenty more inside stories to come, and we'll be checking in with Ben, Leo in Washington, D.C. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, it is finally settling down in the Iberian Peninsula, bringing parts of Portugal and Spain some dry and settled weather. It's also fairly settled for the Canary Islands throughout this weekend. Still some wet weather pushing into parts of northern Portugal. In fact, much of France will see some very wet weather. Also unsettled through the Mediterranean, Italy in towards Greece as well, seeing spells of showers throughout the weekend. It will turn warmer, though, but into next week for Tenerife. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to a GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, after plenty of sunshine today, it turns downhill. We'll see the return of rain and hill snow tonight, and then blustery showers through tomorrow. So this ridge of high pressure is extended over us today, but out towards the west, we've got weather fronts approaching. And as this meets the cold air, we're going to see a mixture of rain, sleet and hill snow, initially across Northern Ireland, pushing its way eastwards into much of Scotland, Northern England and Wales. And there is a Met Office snow and ice warning in force overnight and into tomorrow morning. So icy stretches are possible first thing on Sunday morning. Otherwise to the south, most of it falling as rain. Temperatures holding up here around 6 or 7 degrees. So as we start Sunday morning then, do take care, there could be icy stretches in places across Scotland. Orkney and Shetland seeing outbreaks of rain, but for the vast majority of Scotland it's a case of showers. Still some of those on the wintry side. Across Northern Ireland, cloudy, outbreaks of heavy rain arriving later in the west. Many places across northern England holding on to a lot of cloud, and a wet start across the south with outbreaks of rain. And some of this rain could turn a little bit wintry across the southeast initially. Otherwise, as we head through the afternoon, there is a band of showery outbreaks of rain that is going to be pushing across the country. Some of this is going to be heavy, perhaps with the risk of hail and thunder, and then behind that, some brighter interludes across the south, highs of 10 or 11, into the north, 5 to 7 degrees. So as we go through Monday, it is a case of sunny spells, but frequent blustery showers just pushing their way through. But like I said, there should be some sunshine in between. They'll generally ease as we go through the day and overnight. And then Tuesday, a chilly start, but plenty of sunshine before turning downhill again on Wednesday with rain and perhaps some more snow.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's been an interesting break. I accidentally proposed to my director here, Olivia. I gave her these love hearts, and the first one said, marry me. And then the one I ate after it said, you're mine. But there's also some other good news, because we like to do good news here. Paul Richards has got some good news. Go on, Paul. Take it away.
My godson, who's a fine, upstanding chap, took his girlfriend off to Vienna, Beth. So Tommy and Beth got engaged.
Congratulations, Tommy and Beth. Congratulations. We'd love to see it. It absolutely is. Congratulations to both of you from all of us here at GB News. We love to see it. We love to see it. What's this one? It's true. We were just saying, right, these could be quite creepy if you take them out into the wrong context and if you set it in like a Halloween sort of style, Steve.
The one that you had that says you're mine, depending on the tone, that's terrible.
You're mine. You're mine.
I'm never going to let you go.
I'm watching you. All right, listen, let's get to some real... someone who actually knows what they're doing. GB News' Ben Leo at The Late Show Live, which is kicking off at midnight. Ben, what's your Valentine's Day looking like tonight?
Pretty lonely. I was saying earlier. Bev is in Miami. My cameraman, Ben, got struck down with appendicitis, so he's still in LA. Eleanor, our producer, has now gone back to London because she's getting married. I've not got too many mates here in DC, so yeah, it's a pretty lonely one.
Oh, Ben, oh, mate, well, happy Valentine's Day. We'll keep you company here, of course. We're looking forward to seeing you on The Late Show Live. And look, you're taking lessons from Keir Starmer here. You're knocking your competition off left, right and centre. What's going to be on your show tonight, mate?
By the way, continuing the Valentine's chat, talking of love hearts, special shout out to an airline beginning with V and second word A, British airline, Virgin Atlantic. I was travelling back from London to the UK, from London to the USA the other day. Got really friendly with the cabin crew, great bunch, and then I fell asleep and I woke up with a nice little note and a couple of packets of love hearts there for me, which made me very happy. So thank you to Virgin Atlantic. Other airlines are available. What's on tonight? I don't know. What is on tonight? Cancelled local elections. Nigel Farage. He will be appearing in court, in the High Court next week, Thursday and Friday, because Reform UK, of course, are suing the government for cancelling these elections. Farage writes in the Telegraph tomorrow that it is the behaviour of a banana republic, and Reform lawyers will argue in court. We've got hold of the court documents. They will argue in court that there is no legitimate reason for the government to be cancelling elections, and also councils who have asked to cancel elections haven't given a good enough excuse or been transparent enough explaining why they can't go ahead. So that's lining up quite nicely for next week. Also, President Trump threatening Iran again. I'll just come out and say this now. I hope Trump does what he said he would do with regards to help being on the way, and just send another couple of B-2 bombers over to Iran, because you've got the likes of Bushra Sheikh, the sort of pro-Palestine influencer, commentator now, the former BBC Apprentice contestant, who, let's be honest, she hates the UK. She's in Iran now on some sort of propaganda trip, bigging up the country, saying how safe it is. She can walk around without a hijab. I think we just need to sort the Iran situation out. And we have Restore Britain. They have, of course, launched their new political party. It's the party headed by Rupert Lowe. We've got Restore on later on, just after midnight, to explain how they're different to Reform, how they think they will target the electorate. And I want to ask them as well, do you not think some of the policies they're putting forward, although many people, right-thinking people, will think they are common sense, how do you deliver that to sort of the everyday electorate in the UK who may think or get scared that it's a bit too much? They reckon that they will win the next election, so that'll be interesting. And yeah, lots more to come on top of that as well.
Yeah, Ben, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for the show. I'll just give you a little love heart here from London. What does it say here?
What does it say?
It says, dream big, Ben. Look, you couldn't ask for more than that. You're out in America. You're absolutely storming it. You've been going viral for the last 6 months. I mean, you're living the dream big. There you go. All right, Ben, we'll see you shortly, mate. Moving on, the Telegraph reports this. Teachers with mental health issues are taking the equivalent of 1 day off every week. That's more than 800,000 teaching days have been lost to stress, anxiety or depression in England and Wales in the past 5 years, during which time around 25,000 teachers were absent on mental health grounds. Since Labour came to power, roughly over 5,300 teachers have taken time off as a result of their mental health, resulting in 181,000 plus sick days in the year ending the 2024 academic year, 2024-2025. So an average of 34 days were taken off, equivalent to 1 day a week across the school year. Jane.
Gosh.
How are our kids learning anything?
I don't know. They're big stats, aren't they? And I mean, it's concerning if the job of teaching is... My mum was a teacher, I did some teaching. If the job is getting more stressful, I'd be very interested to hear from some teachers and some teaching unions what extra pressures. I think some discipline among classroom students. I think the dynamic has changed since I was at school many moons ago. Well, I think that respect for teachers is less less ingrained in the classroom. And parents, I mean, my mum would never have backed me up against a teacher. If I'd been a little sod in class, she would come down on their side. I think lots of parents now would back their kids and say, he's expressing himself, you know. I'd like to hear from some teachers on that.
Yeah, I have a sneaky feeling. I went back to my old high school once, Steve, and the kids there were abysmal. They were abysmal. They were like, it was like being in a zoo. And there's 30 plus kids in the classroom, some of these classrooms in London. And I just think to myself, that's impossible.
Yeah, I think the classroom size numbers, that is a big issue. It's also true that every generation thinks the kids, the newer ones are wrong. There's some quote from some ancient Greek, isn't there, that says...
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember. But it's true today. And maybe we've not got that much worse, if you imagine all the generations since. It's because you see the worst behaviour of the younger generation, but you didn't live the worst behaviour of your generation. I think that's how it works. So it's like an availability bias. So I wasn't the worst... per Generation X. And you see these young'uns, the only ones you notice are the ones hanging on the street corners, not the one at home or in school. I don't quite understand all of the stats of... Like, if the job is that stressful, then how do you just take some time off? How is it not something that just stops you doing that work? I know it says, like, 1 a week. It's not as if people are just taking 1 day off and they're back the next day. Yeah. That is how the stats are being formed, and then that seems like that's a bit of a scam. But it must be that someone can't work because of it. Well, then why are you going back into the job that is that stressful to you?
Is it a resilience question? You know, are we getting less resilient?
Well, that's true.
And the more it's not taboo to say, I'm struggling with mental health, I think more and more people will
Very briefly, Paul.
My mum was a teacher for 40 years. I don't think she had a day off once. But obviously these days it is more stressful, and mental health illness is a genuine thing. So people just saying, oh, well, they're snowflakes. It's not. There is a mental health crisis out there.
Yeah, OK. Well, listen, coming up shortly... Maybe.
Was this individual, did he appear to be drunk? Did he appear to be aggressive?
He just looked, like, he hadn't slept for, a week.
Isn't it?
Well, yeah, Paul just said it then. It is a bit of a weird clip. I know, for those of you that have loyally stayed and watched, I will play the full clip next, because trust me, you don't want to miss it.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Just reading here on your side, Ruth Ferres, I hope I've said your name correctly. Alex, my granddaughter went to a small village school of 80. Her class had 3 students, and the teacher had got off 8 months with stress. Tell you what, I've got to manage these 3. Sometimes it's Saturday 5 as well. I should be having permanent stress. Anyway, listen, I promise you I'd play that full clip of Nadhim Zahawi's interview with Nick Ferrari. Let's have a look at it.
You feel safe in London?
No. I've got to tell you,
and for your children.
Yesterday, I walked from my home in one of the most
well-heeled,
upmarket, you can call it, areas of London, and an individual walked past me. I literally walked off the pavement into the middle of the road, kept a very close eye at 8 a.m. Right? To see whether
what was this individual? Did he appear to be drunk? Did he appear to be aggressive?
He just looked, like he hadn't slept for a week.
What is he on about? I'm sorry, it's the most out-of-touch rubbish I've ever seen. Oh, it was I'll tell you what, I bet I look absolutely awful when I leave this studio, or if I've got to go out early tomorrow morning. Am I going to have Nadhim Zahawi running into roads to try and avoid me? It's really out of touch, isn't it? And this is the sort of thing that really disappoints me, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, he said that someone who looks like they haven't slept, and I got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old at home, so there's a chance I was in that story. I might have been walking down the street.
Could have been you, actually.
It might have been someone doing the walk of shame on the way home from a party. It could be anybody, but we'll never know.
He's made Susan Hall look good. I mean, she was the one doing the same interview saying I lost my Oyster card and it was clearly pickpocketing.
Oh, right, I don't remember that, actually.
I've been pickpocketed in London, so I will,
Paul?
Well, just rich bloke out of touch, isn't it?
That's what it looks like, unfortunately, for him.
So.
Yeah, that is what it looks like.
Class war or anything, but that is what it looks like.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Listen, I just think, if you're going to go... I don't think he was anticipating Nick was going to ask him a question, which is a very stupid thing to do, because Nick Ferrari is very good at questioning people on the most basic things, which they always seem to, mess it up, don't they? Anyway, here's your front pages one more time. Let's start with that damning headline, which I promised you on my show tomorrow. We will talk about this a lot. The Sunday Times. Labour activists paid for smear campaign against journalists. The Sunday Express. Rise in pension age will send 115,000 elderly into poverty. The Mail on Sunday. Now there must be probe into Envoy should I say, Andrew. Sunday Mirror. Will's agony. The Independent. Putin arch-rival Navalny poisoned by the Kremlin. The Telegraph. Russia murdered Navalny with frog poison. The Sun. Epstein Lord Telly Donna. The Observer. Dr. Ice and the Skeleton Crew. Of course, what we haven't got there is the Sun, the Prime Minister saying, I'm going to come out fighting. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out for you, Prime Minister. I suspect you don't have to eat those words like many previous Prime Ministers before you have done too. Listen, I've had a great time this evening. Thank you all for joining me. We will be back tomorrow, 9 o'clock, for some more of the same. And we'll have punchy interviews and lots of fun. Steve, Thank you for joining us. Paul, no, it's all right. Listen, mate, it's Valentine's Day. It's one day you're probably allowed to be
I wasn't late because of that.
No, well, just lie, for goodness sake. Just do your best politics. Jane, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me.
And happy Valentine's Day to all.
Happy Valentine's Day, exactly. Exactly. Thank you all, GBnews.com viewers and those of you listening on radio. Up next, it is the Late Show Live, and it's going to keep you up all night. It's a brilliant show, and it's hosted by the one and only Ben Leo.
Alex, thank you very much. We have a lovely show here on Valentine's Day. I've got a great panel. The audience at home who loyally sat with me until 2 in the morning in the UK. This is going to be for you, for my loyal viewers. The BBC being sued by President Trump. We've got some inside information on that. And also Nigel Farage appearing in the High Court next week, suing the government for cancelling elections. Is it the behaviour of a banana republic? And would it happen here in the United States? All that and more in just a tick.
There's only 2 weeks remaining to see how you could win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, we could be sorting out your summer with an incredible holiday for two worth £10,000, courtesy of Riviera Travel. You'll get to choose from 47 tours in over 30 worldwide destinations. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Hello, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. Live from Washington, D.C. This is GB News with the story shaping Britain and America.
There is absolutely no reason why these elections should not go ahead. But then there is, of course, one very big reason.
He reckons cancelling elections is the behaviour of a banana republic. Can that be applied to this Labour government? Because breaking tonight, Reform UK takes the government to court, arguing that Labour and Keir Starmer acted out of political interest to deny just under 5 million people the right to vote.
We must stand on our own 2 feet. Now that means being bolder.
Gets closer to Europe, surprise, surprise. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, pushes for closer ties with the EU as America rethinks its role in a new world order.
For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
What a speech that was today from the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who laid down the Trump doctrine, warning that mass migration is destabilising the West and saying that America will no longer manage Europe's managed decline. Tonight we'll debate, has multiculturalism and mass migration failed the West? I'm Ben Leo and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning, hope you're well. Thank you for your company and welcome to the Late Show Live. Joining me this evening in Washington is my panel, the Democrat strategist Mally Smith and the political commentator Hilary Fordwich. And I'm delighted to say, in London, political commentator Claire Muldoon, who typically is only on breakfast, Claire, as far as I remember. But I'm glad you're with us tonight. I guess it is still morning, 2 a.m, 6 a.m, not much of a difference. Thank you, Claire, appreciate it. Right, let's move on to our main breaking story tonight. And it's a big one because lawyers for Reform UK will argue at the High Court next week that Sir Keir Starmer's decision to cancel elections for 4.6 million people, maybe you at home tonight, threatens the foundations of British democracy.
There is absolutely no reason why these elections should not go ahead. But then there is, of course, one very big reason.
Court documents seen by GBNews, Reform lawyers will next week argue that Labour scrapped swathes of May's local elections out of political interest over fears they'd get absolutely walloped at the ballot box. Reform leader Nigel Farage is expected to appear at the High Court for Reform's legal challenge next week against the government on Thursday and Friday. And this all comes as polling shows Reform is by far the most popular party where local elections have been delayed. There's the graphic on your screen if you're watching it on TV now. Writing for the Sunday Telegraph tomorrow, Farage has accused Sir Keir Starmer of running scared from voters who were being denied the chance to send a clear message to this failing Labour government, and that cancelling elections was the stuff of banana republics. And at court next week, the judge will be asked to consider a very simple question. Where is the rationality in a democracy to deny elections? And Reform's lawyers are expected to argue, quote, in an irrational world, of which examples might be world wars and coronavirus, there may be limited rationality to postpone elections. But in peacetime, free of world crisis, it is patently irrational. It stands in contradiction to the basis of the country, namely democratic rights and the basis of individual rights within the country. And they'll add, there is no reason other than politics why reorganisation could not be planned without sacrificing elections. On the contrary, postponement or cancellation of the elections in the circumstances of local government reorganisation is to remove accountability when it's needed the most. So concerns will also be raised about the lack of efforts councils are making to prove they lack the capacity to hold those very elections. And the Electoral Commission has previously already waded into the row, claiming there's a clear conflict of interest in asking those very local authorities how long it will be before they're ready to hold votes. Well, joining me in Washington now is my panel, the Democrat strategist Mally Smith and the political commentator Hilary Fordwich, and of course in London, the commentator Claire Muldoon. Good evening, happy Valentine's.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's. Who's going to be my Valentine?
Well, I love GB News.
Okay. There's that. Okay, just about there. It's about 80%.
You're a lovely wife and you're a good man. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Right, Hilary, we'll start with you. Big court case next week, the High Court. Farage expected to be there, and in tomorrow's Telegraph, he's calling the cancelling of elections elections a banana republic?
Well, absolutely. And think about this. Just now, Sir Keir Starmer was at the Munich Security Conference and he said, we've moved beyond Brexit. Well, wait a second. There hasn't been another referendum. What does he mean we've moved beyond Brexit? That's absolutely ludicrous. No one has voted to move beyond Brexit.
Yeah, you could also argue, Mally, that Brexit's not been implemented as well.
Yeah, and I mean, this would be suspicious if Keir Starmer wasn't flailing in the polls, but the fact that he's doing this with Labour in such a bad position makes it even worse. And
wait, Mally, you're agreeing with us?
I sometimes agree with you all.
It's Valentine.
Yes.
And then I'm always very skeptical of the argument that they're not going to be able to logistically handle an election. The U.S. had an election during the Civil War.
Yeah.
If we were able to handle a presidential election during Abraham Lincoln times during a Civil War, I think the UK should be able to figure out how to hold local elections.
And can I ask you, as the leftist here, or the centre-left, however you want to describe yourself.
A man of reason.
A man of reason, all right, okay, maybe, after a couple of beers. I've been here since September, and I hear a lot the term fascist thrown around against President Trump and this government.
Which is ludicrous.
I mean, the primary definition of fascism is a one-party state and cancelling elections and so on. So that doesn't really apply here, despite the leftist rhetoric. Is what you see in Great Britain now, the cancelling of elections, does that reek of fascism to you?
It's troubling. I haven't thought of it in that light. I think if someone made the argument that it could be fascist light, I wouldn't completely scoff at it. I think, again, the idea that they logistically can't pull off local elections is troubling, and the fact that we did it during a civil war, I think the UK can figure it out.
Well, and just think about the fact that they obviously don't believe in democracy because the migrant crisis, no one has voted for all these immigrants to come. And going back to the Munich summit, when Keir Starmer said that we've moved beyond Brexit, there has been no referendum for that. There's been no referendum in terms of the two-tier policing. So most of these policies that they have, actually no one's voted for because actually he's gone against his platform as well.
Well, then the one thing I would say is interesting for me about this as an American is that in the U.S. elections are really decentralized, so it would be impossible for the federal government pretty much to delay local elections in the U.S.
So instead we just don't count ballots and we have flooding in the buildings.
Well, these local, let's get Claire Mould in, and these councils have gone to the government and said, oh, we can't possibly